Ethan's phone's screen glowed in the darkness of his car, illuminating his face with a cold, artificial light. The message had arrived at 10:32 p.m. "I'm home, babe. Going to sleep early. Love you." So casually sent. So confidently typed. As if she truly believed he wouldn't question it. Leaning back in the driver's seat, he let his gaze drift toward the apartment complex ahead. Just a few hundred feet away, under the dim orange glow of a streetlight, sat a car he knew better than his own reflection. Midnight blue, the same slight dent on the rear bumper from when she'd backed into a parking post months ago. It was hers. No denying it. For weeks, he had felt something shifting, subtle at first, then unmistakable. The way she'd become distant. The way every little thing sparked an argument. The way her phone had turned into something sacred, never left unattended, always angled just out of his sight. Ethan wasn't paranoid. But he also wasn't a fool. He had learned long ago that the truth had a way of surfacing, if you were patient enough to wait for it. And tonight he was done waiting. His fingers curled around his phone, smooth glass cool against his palm. No zoom was necessary. Her car was close enough that even the license plate was unmistakably clear. He adjusted the angle slightly, making sure the entrance of the apartment complex was visible in the frame, then tapped the shutter button. One picture. One undeniable fact. A slow breath left his lips, steady, controlled. There was no anger, no impulse to storm inside and demand an explanation. There was only the truth. And the truth had already been told. He swiped to their message thread, pressed the attachment icon, selected the freshly taken photo, and hit send. Then he waited. 3 dots appeared instantly. A frantic rhythm, bouncing, disappearing, reappearing. He imagined her staring at her screen, breath catching, fingers hovering over the keyboard in desperate hesitation. Then the dots vanished. Then returned. Then vanished again. Ethan's lips curled at the edges, just slightly. She was scrambling. And that, more than any argument, was all the proof he needed. Silence was louder than words. His phone remained still in his grasp, its dim glow casting sharp shadows across the cabin of his car. He watched as the message sat there between them, stark and undeniable. No accusations. No confrontation. Just a single image, more damning than any words he could have sent. A minute passed. Then another. She was panicking. He could feel it. Maybe she was sitting on another man's couch right now, phone slipping from her grip, eyes widening in horror. Maybe she had gasped, her pulse hammering in her ears. Maybe she had already turned to the man beside her, calculating the best possible lie. But what could she say? "That's not my car." Impossible. He knew it too well. "That's an old photo." No, he had taken it only seconds ago. "I lent my car to someone else." Right. Because someone else just happened to be parked outside this exact apartment at this exact moment. No matter how she twisted it, the truth was already breathing down her neck. Ethan wasn't the type to seek out drama. He didn't raise his voice, didn't hurl accusations. He believed in facts. And facts had a way of speaking for themselves. Tonight, Sophie had shown exactly who she was. His phone lit up again. "Incoming call, Sophie." For a moment, he just watched her name flash on the screen. The same name that once made him smile whenever it appeared. But now, his lips remained still. He let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then silence. A new message arrived. "Ethan, please call me. I can explain." Explain. A hollow chuckle escaped his lips. Explain what? That she had assumed he was too blind to notice? That she had mistaken his patience for ignorance? His thumb hovered over her message. Then, with slow, deliberate ease, he swiped left. The chat was archived, not deleted, not blocked. Just pushed away, out of sight. Outside, the street remained quiet, undisturbed. A light flickered in the apartment she was in, casting shifting shadows across the glass. He imagined her pacing now, phone clutched tight in her sweaty palms, waiting for a response that would never come. But there was nothing left to say. Ethan started the engine. The low hum filled the car as he pulled away from the curb, leaving the apartment complex behind. The city lights streaked past, neon reflections flashing across the windshield, but his mind remained in that moment of perfect clarity. The moment where every carefully woven lie had unraveled with a single, silent truth. His phone buzzed again. He didn't need to check to know who it was. The first call he had ignored. The text that followed, a desperate plea, had meant nothing. And now she was doubling down. Another call. Another attempt at an explanation that would never be enough. He let it ring out. A second later, a voicemail notification popped up. Ethan exhaled, tapping the screen with deliberate slowness. He had no desire to hear whatever excuse she had scrambled to construct. But curiosity was a persistent thing. He pressed play. "Ethan, please just talk to me." Her voice was breathless, trembling, like she had been pacing, heart pounding, head spinning. But Ethan only listened for a moment before pressing the phone face down onto the passenger seat. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless, and he had never seen his path more clearly. Ethan stared at his phone, the screen still glowing with the last voicemail notification. He didn't need to press play to know what it would say. Still, curiosity was a stubborn thing, and with a slow exhale, he tapped the message. "I know what this looks like, but it's not what you think, I swear." A shaky inhale. A pause. Desperation woven into every syllable. "Just call me back, okay? We need to talk about this." A second of silence. Then the voicemail cut off. Ethan scoffed. "We need to talk." No. There was no we anymore. Whatever they had built, whatever trust had once existed between them, had shattered the moment she typed out that fake goodnight, babe text and hit send, thinking he would be none the wiser. And yet, part of him was entertained by how quickly her confidence had crumbled. Sophie had always been the master of manipulation, smooth, effortless, always knowing the right words to twist a situation in her favor. But now she was floundering, grasping at excuses that wouldn't come, reaching for something already slipping through her fingers. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "Ethan, please, just tell me what you want me to say." That was it. That was all he needed to hear. She wasn't even denying it anymore. No feeble attempts at innocence, no grand declarations of misunderstanding. She wasn't fighting to prove she was right, just looking for the words that might soften the inevitable. A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. The woman who once believed she could talk her way out of anything had finally run out of words. Without hesitation, Ethan pressed block. No more messages. No more calls. No more Sophie. As he turned onto his street, something inside him shifted, like a weight lifting just slightly. The night had played out exactly as it was meant to. He had set the trap, and she had walked right into it. Now he could finally get a good night's sleep. Morning arrived with an eerie stillness, the kind of silence that only comes after a storm, when the dust has settled and all that remains is the wreckage. Ethan stretched, his muscles looser than they had been in weeks. No unread messages demanding his attention, no uneasy feeling gnawing at the edges of his mind. Just peace. Grabbing his phone, he scrolled out of habit, already knowing what he wouldn't find. Sophie's number? Blocked. Her messages? Archived. Her presence? Erased. He wondered how long she had spent staring at their chat last night, waiting, hoping for a response that would never come. Maybe she had panicked, calling him over and over, only to be met with the cold, impersonal rejection of "the number you have dialed is not available." Maybe she had tried to convince herself that this was just another fight, one she could smooth over with the right words. But she couldn't, because Ethan had given her nothing to work with. No confrontation. No chance to argue. No closure. It was simply over. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, the simple act feeling like a fresh start. Today was different. He wasn't waking up to another day of pretending not to notice the distance growing between them. Wasn't wasting energy analyzing her words, trying to separate truth from carefully constructed lies. He had all the proof he needed. And now he was free. As he made his coffee, his phone vibrated against the countertop. Not Sophie, he had made sure of that, but a notification from a mutual friend. Curiosity flickered, and he opened it. Sophie Carter has updated her relationship status. A low chuckle escaped his lips. That was fast. Clicking through, he found her profile littered with vague, attention-seeking posts. People love to assume the worst. Another. Some things aren't worth explaining. Of course. She wasn't owning up to anything. That wasn't Sophie's style. No, she was crafting a narrative where she was the one wronged, the one left picking up the pieces of a relationship that had inexplicably crumbled. He could picture her now, sighing dramatically, rolling her eyes as she read through the flood of sympathetic comments. You deserve better, girl. Some people just don't appreciate what they have. Ethan wasn't angry. He wasn't even surprised. This was exactly how he expected her to handle it, by avoiding responsibility, rewriting the story until she could see herself as the victim. He took a slow sip of his coffee, shaking his head. Let her have her version of events. Let her spin her web of half-truths and self-pity. It didn't matter. because for once he didn't need to prove anything. She knew, and that was enough. The rest of the morning passed in a state of quiet satisfaction. No urge to check his phone for an apology that would never come. No pit in his stomach anticipating another excuse. It was over, clean and simple. Sophie had been exposed, and she knew it. He had won. By noon, he decided to step out for lunch, treating himself to a cafe he hadn't visited in months. Sitting at an outdoor table, coffee in hand, he let the warmth of the sun sink into his skin. This felt like reclaiming something, some part of his life that had been slowly overshadowed by doubt and suspicion. He thought back to the night before, not with anger, but with something closer to closure. Sophie had underestimated him. She thought she could keep stringing him along, feeding him lie after lie, never expecting him to catch on. That was what stung the most. Not the betrayal itself, but the arrogance, the assumption that he would never see. But he had. And the best part, he had never even needed to say a word. His phone buzzed against the table, snapping him from his thoughts. A work email? A message from a friend? No, a new number. One he didn't recognize. Ethan exhaled sharply, already knowing. Sophie. She had switched numbers. The screen vibrated insistently, as if she could will him to answer, as if her desperation alone could force him to break. He imagined her somewhere in her apartment, pacing back and forth, phone pressed to her ear, waiting, hoping. But the call went to voicemail. A second later, another text popped up. Ethan, I know you blocked me, but please just hear me out. He didn't need to. He could already predict the script. A half-hearted apology. A plea for understanding. A desperate attempt to justify the unjustifiable. The message sat there, unread, untouched. Ethan took the last sip of his coffee, exhaling slowly. Then, without hesitation, he stood, leaving the cafe without looking back. The weight had lifted. The anger had faded. There was nothing left to figure out. Nothing left to hear. She had lied. He had caught her. And now, she was the one sitting in silence, waiting for a response that would never come. He slid into his car, rolling down the windows as a warm breeze filled the cabin. He had wasted enough time on her, given her too many chances. But she had made her choice the moment she stepped into another man's apartment, the moment she sent that text, thinking he would believe her. Ethan put the car in drive, pulling onto the road, feeling lighter than he had in months. Sophie was just another chapter in his story. And finally, he was ready to close the book.